I want to get back to the breaking news that we covered at the beginning of this newscast from Powerhouse Sky Zoom 4 at 6 o'clock tonight. We showed you hundreds, perhaps thousands of demonstrators gathered in downtown St. Louis. They were right at the on-ramp of westbound Interstate 64 off Broadway. For a marker for you if you're not familiar with this area, this is right near on the bottom of your screen there. That's Busch Stadium, the outfield of Busch Stadium. Well, now take a look at these protesters. They have moved from the on-ramp. They are now walking on westbound Interstate 64. Now you can also see, if our camera shot there can go a little bit there, on the right side of your screen, there's also policemen, they understand, moving along in the area on their bicycles, trying to just walk with this crowd. Our Ashley Lincoln is among the protesters for us this evening, and Ashley, very quickly they have moved now on to Interstate 64.
That's right, Claire. As I mentioned earlier, it seems as if the organizers of this protest did work with police in the logistics. Once the front line of the protesters met up with the bicycle SLMPD officers at the top of this ramp, those officers then turned around, almost leading the protesters. So it seems like they do have the westbound of I-64 blocked off so that no oncoming traffic, and they are allowing the protesters to march along the highway in a safe way with no traffic. So we do know that, and that's what makes us feel comfortable walking up here along with them. But we're towards the rear of the group right now. But again, SLMPD, their bicyclist cops were at the top of the hill, and when protesters greeted them, they then turned around and let them continue to march on. So they are in front of this group, those bicyclist cops, and we did see a few cops on the other side, on the eastbound lanes. So just making sure that is safe and no one gets injured during this protest.
If I can interrupt you politely for just 1 second, I do want to reference what our viewers are seeing right now for Powerhouse Sky Zoom 4. These are drivers coming across the Poplar Street Bridge from Illinois into Missouri, and as a result of the protesters getting on very close to this area on westbound 64, they are diverting traffic off of the interstate because of this right here. They didn't want anybody to be hit by any cars for these individuals. Ashley, it appears right now they've kind of come to a standstill on 64 and just gathered quite a crowd.
Yeah, we've just been moving with them. We really don't know when or where they plan to stop and how long they plan to march. But they have been picking, I guess, areas of concentration, I would say, where they stop and they do their chanting. So I assume once we get up here, once the entire group gets up here, they probably will plan to stop, do a couple of chants. Not sure how long that'll last before they move on. But again, I guess the reassuring thing here when you're talking about safety is that police are up here to make sure that no one gets injured.
And Ashley, if we rewind the clocks about 2.5 hours to 3:30 this afternoon, I mean, you were with a lot of these individuals. It started out maybe a group of 300 or 400 outside of the Justice Center in downtown St. Louis. They then marched down Market Street to the Arch. And from the Arch, Ashley, they have moved to where you are now here on Interstate 64. And talk about the growth of the crowd over the past 2.5 hours.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, normally with time, the crowd gets smaller, but it appears that the crowd is getting bigger. We're picking up people at every stop that we stop at. So the crowd is growing. And from our estimates, we believe it's well over 1,000 people out here that are marching.
And in reference to the officers that are among the crowds right now, we did see a number of officers on bicycles. Are there officers walking with these individuals as well? Give us kind of a reference to where law enforcement is among the crowd.
I'm sorry, Claire, say that again. I couldn't hear you.
That's okay. We know there's a lot going on where you are. There's a lot of activity, a lot of people talking. Talk about the law enforcement presence in there. We saw a lot of police officers on bicycles. Are there officers also walking in the crowd?
Yeah. Were you asking me, were they walking in the crowd?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't seen anyone actually walking along with the protesters. We did see that when we were up in Ferguson over the weekend, the chief and some of his officers walking with the protesters. I haven't seen any. I'm not saying that they didn't here in the city of St. Louis. We just haven't witnessed that yet. But we do know that the officers have been blocking off the streets, allowing them to protest, just making sure no traffic is impeding upon the safety.
And does it seem like there's a particular individual leading this crowd? I mean, what types of chants are they saying? What are they calling for?
Yeah, we do know that there is a pastor by the name of Pastor Gray. He seems to be the one that's been leading him alongside a female. If Chuck can zoom in on this female with the black baseball cap, she's been one of the leaders as well. They've been facilitating, make sure people are in safe spaces, leading the chant, and also coordinating with law enforcement and other leaders out here just to make sure that everyone is, behaving peacefully and then make sure that everybody is safely. So I think what she's doing, she's making everyone that's coming up this on-ramp gets on all the way so that we don't have any stragglers, because there's probably about 100 people. We're at the end of this line of people, but it's still a lot of people behind me if you look down that ramp that's still trying to get up this hill.
And Ashley, at this point, no indication how far these individuals plan on walking on the interstate this evening.
Yeah, we have no clue. We've really just been going with the flow as they walk through the city today. We don't know if they're going to go back to where they started in front of the City Justice Center, or if we're going to go beyond that point. But we're going to follow them just to see where it stops.
Yeah, and we really do want to emphasize and take a moment, Ashley, to talk about the fact that everything that you have seen over the past almost 3 hours now, everything has been very peaceful. They were on the Arch grounds about an hour ago, and they were putting basically sticky notes on the legs of the Arch right now for things that they were demanding. So this has certainly been a workout for Ashley and her photographer this afternoon as they are marching along with the protesters. Again, this is right on Interstate 64. They have passed Busch Stadium. Crews are directing traffic. Any individuals who are crossing the Poplar Street Bridge at this time, traveling westbound from Illinois into Missouri, they are directing traffic off of the interstate to keep all of these protesters who are now on the interstate safe for us this evening. So here's our game plan. I mean, we're going to stick Powerhouse Sky Zoom 4, keep above the scene. Our Ashley is working there on the ground as well, trying to get the latest. So we'll keep you posted here on News 4 as we go throughout the evening. We'll be right there along with these protesters and our Ashley Lincoln, our photographer, among the crowd. Be sure to stay with News 4 for more developments. Obviously, things are changing.